Hello, and welcome to Zooch's first ever YouTube video for Duelyst. How's it going? This is going to be a first for me, so please take it easy in the comments. Although I'd love to hear feedback and criticism on both my plays and on the presentation. Anywho, I am interested in doing some Gauntlet runs, as it's my favorite part of any card game, is drafting, or limited, or in Duelist's case, Gauntlet. So let's jump right in. Alright, I've already paid the admission fee, and now we have to pick our faction. As far as which faction to pick, frankly, it really should be whatever faction you want to play. There's no best faction, in my opinion, except maybe Vanar is better than a lot of others, so if you want to have a best faction, I would say Vanar is probably the best, and maybe Songhai is probably the worst. But regardless, I'm going to pick Vanar because I want to do well in the first one, he says, hoping he does well. Okie dokie. This is a great first pick because it really is going to maybe set the tone for what we want to do with the deck. I don't know. I'm going to almost certainly take Bone Reaper here because it has an immediate impact on the board. Dragar Lord is obviously an impressive creature, and it's a very sticky minion, but it's also a 6-mana spell that doesn't do anything when it comes down. Dial Toss is interesting, to say the least, but I don't think it's a particularly great minion. And moreover, I want to play with Bone Reaper because in my sort of March patch note analysis, I thought Bone Reaper would be an incredible Gauntlet card. So let's see if that is in fact the case. Let's take it. All right, up next. Swamp Entangler is right out. It's a pretty weak minion as far as minions are concerned. So it's between Saber Spine and Hearth Sister, and I think it's a pretty easy Hearth Sister. It's a cheaper minion, which is just per se better. And it has a great opening gambit, which can lead to either removing an opposing minion or to killing off the opponent with an oversized minion that's far away. I really like this card, so let's take it. Alright, here we have a super awkward pick. I don't really like any of these cards, frankly, but we have to play with one of them, so let's make the best of it. A mantra that I sort of operate under in Gauntlet drafting is that lower is better. There's a limit to that, obviously, and I think I'll address that in this pick right here. But in general, I'm not going to really want a 7-drop. I'll maybe want 1 or 2 in my deck maximum, with the exception of maybe Shadow Nova. And Whistling Blade is not that. So I'm going to pass on this for right now. So it's going to be between Planar Scout and Piercing Mantis. I think I'll probably want to go with Planar Scout, frankly. Like, Piercing Mantis is okay, but Frenzy and 1 point of health I don't think is better than being a 1-drop and being an airdrop minion. Like, playing this on turn 1 can be extremely obnoxious for the opponent. So I'm going to take this, and I mean, this is never going to kill more than, say, 1 creature. So I'm going to take this Planar Scout. Alright. I highly prioritize removal, and Cryogenesis is a pretty solid removal spell. It is card advantage on a stick, which is nice because you want to be able to outcard your opponents a lot of times. In Duelyst, it doesn't matter nearly as much as other card games, but I think the fact that you're casting a removal spell and essentially drawing a card is pretty powerful, so we'll take Cryogenesis. Alright, and I think it's a pretty obvious pick. Neither of these two cards are very good, whereas this is a pretty solid, serviceable 2-drop for Vanar. So, what do we got coming up? Okay. This is an interesting pick. So, my first thought is Araki Headhunter is right out. This is an okay minion in general and constructed. It's not great. It's not terrible. But we can't really dictate how many opening gambits we're going to have in our deck, so he might just end up being a 1/3 for 2, which is pretty bad. It's either going to be Chaos Elemental or Twilight Sorcerer. And I do like Twilight Sorcerer a lot. At 5 mana, it's getting into expensive range, so I might hesitate more than I would. If this were still 4 mana before it was nerfed to 5, then I probably would I would immediately take the 4 mana Twilight Sorcerer. But as things being as they are, why don't we take it and see how it goes? A 4/4 for 3 is very powerful, but at the same time, like, it's just a 4/4 for 3, whereas this gets us a spell back. So I like having spells. Okay, this is also pretty awkward. Again, I'm not very excited about any of these cards. I think I'm going to go with the cheaper of the 2 golems, because while this is an 8/8, the 1 mana difference can be pretty big. We'll take this guy. He's so much larger than this thing. I think it actually is probably worth the 1 mana, even though I don't really like paying 6 mana for a whole lot of creatures, Bone Reaper notwithstanding. All right, let's take this. Okay, here we have an interesting pick. It's either going to be Chaos Elemental or Spirit of the Wild. Mogwai is fine, but I don't think we're going to be lacking cards in this matchup, or in this Gauntlet draft. Like, we already have 1, 2 cards that will draw us a card when we play them, and we have a couple expensive drops, so I have a feeling our hand's going to be pretty full most of the time. I really like Spirit of the Wild. This lets you steal games that you otherwise had no business winning, so I'm going to take this and pass on our second Chaos Elemental, sadly. Okay. Alright, this is certainly an interesting pick. So, we could take an Avalanche, although I think people tend to play around that. We could take Saberspine Tiger. We could take Bloodtear Alchemist. All 3 sort of serve different roles, and all 3 are okay for their cost. I think I want to take the Avalanche, even though we might be likely to get 1 more down the road. Avalanche is such a powerful card that you can just win games all by yourself with this card. I think people tend to play around it a lot, so getting value sometimes isn't possible. And if you can't get value, it's just worthless. So, like, if you're over on your opponent's side of the board, then this card is just, terrible. It doesn't do anything. So let's take Avalanche and hope that we can capitalize on it. All right. Well, I think I'm going to take Snow Chaser here. I really like Snow Chaser. It is an obnoxious recursive threat that can, pick off things early and come back to your hand and do it again. Silver Tongue Corsair is pretty good, but again, I think I want the in-faction card, not only because it's, sort of a repeatable removal effect, but also because it's Vesper, which we might end up getting some, Vesper-themed card like Glacial Elemental or something like that. Mind Warper is terrible. I hate that card. Okay. Speaking of Vesper-themed cards, I am not a big fan of Borean Bear at all. I think calling it mediocre is pretty generous. And it's particularly in Gauntlet, where you can't really dictate what spells go in your deck all the time. Having something that requires a lot of synergy with your deck to be good is not great when you can't really anticipate how much synergy you're going to have. So, like, right now, we've only got 2 Vesper cards, so a 1/3 is terrible and a 2/3 is passable. So we'd have to play 2 Vesper minions just to get this guy up to, above average. I'm going to take the Tiger. I sort of treat Tiger as a removal spell, so I like having removal in my deck. All right, Heart Sister versus Healing Mystic. Interesting pick. And I think either would be good, but why don't we go with Healing Mystic? It's just all around really good card, and I like to have a little healing in my deck. We don't have any yet. Alright, so pretty obvious Fenrir War Master. The other two cards are not very good, and this card's incredible. Oh, okay. We have the option to take another Avalanche, and I'm not really sold on that. I think I'm going to take this Repulsor Beast, which is sort of like a removal spell. Funnily enough, these two things work really well with one another, so I think I want the first Repulsor Beast over the second Avalanche, and I don't think we want Ephemeral Shroud. Okay, I have a deep love for Frostbone Naga, especially in Van Arwen, which doesn't have a lot of AoE effects, so this is a nice sort of like method to clear a lot of small minions that Banner sort of lacks. Get in here, buddy. Okay, speaking of which, let's take Frostbone Naga's big brother, Deathblighter. It's fine. I mean, it doesn't hit your minions, which is nice, so and it's a removal spell, so I'm going to take it. I really like Deathblighter. Okay. None of these cards are particularly great. I'm going to take Rock Pulverizer over these other two. I like Pulverizer more than Skyrock Golem because I think obviously the fact that it has Provoke sort of can put your opponent in a sticky situation. And a Void Hunter is not a great card, and the card advantage from it is not particularly relevant a lot of times because if you play it early enough, you might not even get the card draw. Okay, Hailstone Prison, I think we definitely want one of in our deck. It's a great sort of tempo play and sometimes removal spell, so perfect. Okay, here's a sort of question. Do we want to take a second Snow Chaser, or do we want to take this Glacial Elemental? We don't have much that combos with Glacial Elemental. It's not a great card if you don't have that stuff, but we still have 11 more picks after this, and if we get like a Bone Chill Barrier, you know, or I don't know, other Vesper minions, this could go a long way towards being a great removal spell. I'm going to take this card and hope that we get some more Vesper minions throughout. Unfortunately, these are not Vesper. It's sort of annoying. Regardless, so Windrunner is incredible, and we're definitely going to take this card. Okay, perfect. Another War Master. Get in here. Okay, which mediocre 2/2 for 2 should we take? I'm a big fan of Dispel in Gauntlet because a lot of the sort of really scary cards are things like the High Hand or, I don't know, things that can be buffed up with, you know, spells or come into play abilities. So let's take this. And I'm not really worried about artifacts. I'm not really worried about doing frenzy damage anywhere. I'm going to take Jaxi just because I really like to have as many 2-drop minions as I can. So even though I think Primus Shieldmaster is better, I think I want the Jaxi in the deck because I want to be able to sort of curve out into bigger threats quicker by taking Mana Springs. Okay. Wolf Raven's okay. I want this artifact because I like having Snowpiercer around. It lets you clear some things really easily, or it lets you be really aggressive if you can find the right moment to play it. Alright. I take Deathblighter. It's a removal spell on a creature, which is great. Even though this is going to be our, I think, 4th 6-drop, which I'm not happy about. We'll still play it. Okay, Healing Mystic is a pretty obvious pick here. Sorry, that noise in the background is my dog playing with a water bottle. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not. Okay. These two, humorously enough, are pretty similar. I think Wolf Raven is pretty clearly better if you can position it well, which is not that hard considering it has flying. So let's take the Wolf Raven over the Putrid guy. Ooh, a legendary. Well, I think to me, it seems pretty clear that it's Voice of the Wind. Maybe once upon a time it would have been Keeper of the Veil, but 3/4 is a far cry from 4/5. And we have a lot of weak minions. Like, I don't know if I want to be getting back a Ephemeral Shroud or something like that. So weak, cheap minions go better with Voice of the Wind for obvious reasons. Let's take this Ancient Minion. That seems pretty good. And last pick, what do we got? Ooh, hey. Ooh, I was going to take the Snow Chaser immediately, then I saw this White Widow. I'll take White Widow, right? Snow Chaser is so annoying, though, especially if you get Glacial Elemental. I think, actually, I'm going to take the Snow Chaser. I want to come out fast and furious, and this is going to let me do that. So, come in here. All right, this is our deck. We made some maybe unconventional choices, but I'm pretty happy with where we entered up. Join me in the next video, and I'll start round 1.